Dzień dobry Państwu. Dziękuję wielce szanownym organizatorom.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Well, good afternoon, dear organizers. Thank you very much for inviting me here. I will speak about some elements that have an impact, a major impact on creating the contemporary architectural space. First, let me start with a book, The Fall of Public Men by Richard Sennett. Richard Sennett wrote about Baron Osman. He wrote that Baron Osman, that in the end of the 19th century, he began to build a new legal, administrative, residential wall for the city in the late 1950s. The wall that was unlike the previous walls only in that it was no longer a physical structure. According to Saint-Exupéry, perfection is achieved not when there is nothing to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. The increasing importance of architecture as a medium of communication, along with the simultaneous rise in the role of ICT technology in its construction, significantly highlights the interpretation of hybrid praise. So, creation of space is hybrid, and this space is constructed from physical and virtual elements. The media interpretation of reality, supplemented by non-physical elements, progressively contaminates it with a kind of IT smog. Baking gradually becomes an alternative. A formatting system emerges in which successive gigabytes of information unconstrained, construct hybrid spaces for event. So these are objects for new digital technologies and ICT technology. Non-physical material substance, which substitutes the full physical one, transforms the manner in which the space of the city, the building, and the functions of the objects are defined by. So we have the limited functions of the object. The urban space of the city and the building is successively being enlarged by non-physical opening, which Abraham Moles and Elizabeth Romer referred to over 50 years ago in relation to the world of the matter. The non-transparent plaster of concrete cladding that separates the room of flats, offices, and cultural facilities becomes a seemingly transparent plane of screens, opening up at the depth in the unlimited space of the whole available world. At the same time, we have these structures which emanate some important functions. It's difficult to find a space for a full telephone in a room with that. The perception of an object involves the image of the idea. It can be interpreted as a perception of an image of an idea, the materialization of thought, and as a certain packaging in the multidimensional spatial structure of the object. So let us start with the image of the idea. Well, that image is the materialization of thought. So it is about, on the one hand, construction and space that fulfills the functional program's concept for potential events, and on the other, which is equally important, a kind of creative polemic, expressing itself in a manner of how the construction is executed. So it's about interpreting certain concepts, which are core values such as truth, freedom, beauty, safety, sustainability, and dispersion. And then we have the content of the object. It could be again interpreted as a space, which is formally separated. It's a delimited physical space, which is the place for events, but it's also a multidisciplinary and multispatial poster. It is the means for conveying information to users and observers. And then it is about construction of architectonics, which is based on Kant's concept of the architecture. So it's about delimitation of space, building it from the material, which is a compilation of physical and non-physical elements. The key seems to be to shape it formally in a way which is appropriate to the commonly accepted identity of meaning and use associated with the concept of ontological security. Each redefinition of the essence of construction is linked on the one hand to the development of social thought and on the other to the broader context of momentary events of equally momentary duration. Formatting the structure of the architectural space of an object on an urban development means building a system at several levels. It is a certain typographic activity which is reflected in the anticipation of the potential intentions of future users, and on the other hand, it is about creating space which affects behaviors in that space. And now redefining concepts. I'm going to speak about the new archi. So this is the original, the initial concept for developing and creating that space. So here we have that significant determinant for defining architectural style, a suggestive interpretation of the concept of the role played by space in human history. So defining the archi, it's about defining the interpretation of concepts of these core values, which is the ideas, core values, content, methods, and material used for its construction. So we have inspirations coming from outside the architecture. These are new openings to ways and contents of thinking. So it's about the philosophy which emanates to paintings, sculptures, works of music, and also in other fields, different types of human activity in technology and economics, but perhaps above all, actions in the sphere of human social life. So here we redefine the archi by using all the elements. So with the idea, we can redefine these values which are transmitted through design and the method of interpreting the content of an object of urban development. So it's about applying the main principles of an idea. So we have that concept which changes when these opportunities are exhausted, when nothing can be taken away, and adding seems pointless. So the emanation is the delimited space. So it's about the opportunity to use it in different fields. It is a reference to the interpretation of fundamental values. So it's about reinterpretation or describing the social space, which is a contradiction of closing or closure, or simultaneous nature of chronology, physicality of illusion, reality of imagination.
Zawartość treści. W tym przypadku redefiniowaniu może podlegać rodzaj.
So redefining the content of meanings of places redefines the symbolisms of its emanation. So it's about material and non-material type of interpretation. So it's about signs and symbols which are their emanations. So it's about understanding the architectural material. So per se, here we interpret what is the architectural space and what isn't. And it's about the content, the substance. So here we can redefine the space that creates the relations between users and their activities and the physical architectural material used. Each unambiguous interpreted century or era is first and foremost an ideological intellectual creation. And here the observer or user experiences an architectural object as a kind of a costume that wraps the content it contains, looking at it through the associations, knowledge, and personal or shared experience. It builds it from his own memories. Nowadays, this new archi-content comes from digital technologies and other types of technologies that enhances and augments the space and redefines the meanings, transforming it from physical to physically virtual, which is a hybrid metaverse. Archi redefinition occurs through this new material and its techniques for redefining the space affect mutual relations of space users. So let me again refer to what Richard Sennett wrote. I'll be inspired by that, the title of the book and its title. Well, in the 18th century, the first conductor, Felix Mendelssohn Bartholdy, emerged in the form that we know until now. Up to then, the orchestras were conducted by the first musician. And similarly, in architecture, we've witnessed that technological progress, and now we see the division of work. A design object is like this Dorian Gray portrait. It's about that architect's concept, even if an architect is a medium carrying someone else's thoughts and observations. And it's about common nature of procedures which are applied and replaced that independent decision. In Richard Sennett, analyzing the consequences of developing and shaping the public life, gradually taking on the character of a formal obligation, points to the multiple planes on which the progressive unifunction takes place in many directions. One of these is the space of architecture. In that space, human activities take place. Well, the architectural substance, well, that is one of the key elements that organize these activities. So this replacement of a shack with a tent built by a nomad is a single example of that concept. It is a summary of this process. So an idea is born or on a transferable medium. Then we have that space for activity, and finally we develop the spatial rules for an object. So the owner or user, therefore, is not the builder or the originator of the idea. He's merely the executor of instructions arising from the past process. In the 18th century, There was the first orchestra leading performance unifying conductor. In the 21st century, we see the emergence of a system largely directed towards the self-shaping by AI of digital and ICT technologies influencing spatial activity. On September 29, 2021, Connect 2021 conference took place. At that conference, Mark Zuckerberg announced the Metaverse vision as the future technology for humanity. He claimed that the construction of the necessary core infrastructure for the Metaverse as a mainstream component would be the leading factor. And starting from December 2021, Facebook began reporting its performance as a Meta and has been using MVR as acronyms on the stock exchange ever since. So the Metaverse, which is the virtual reality and the platform for contact between the real and digital world, dates back to 1992. It was used in Neil Stephenson's science fiction novel. And it referred to the digital life, potential boundaries of such a hybridized space, and the final definition of the phenomenon do not exist. And they disappear permanently as a result of activities carried out by digital and ICT companies. So that phenomenon referred to the architecture and urban planning creates a certain kind of hybrid space, which is a potential development of Bowles and Romer's theory, which then referred to the space built on the material concept with a certain hierarchy. Now, in the already existing three-dimensional foundations of the Metaverse, the beginning of a potential private and professional world are constructed, shaping different forms of activity. So we have people there, places, signs, universities, work meetings with friends, vacations, etc. So contemporary architectural space is therefore already very much a basis of that heralded one, which is a hybrid constructed from a material and non-physical matter, permanent and ephemeral. And these concepts presented at the Connect 2021 conference only confirm that continuation. So we have that potential architectural mechanism, and that is a multi-sensory mechanism, which is adequate to the multi-sensory impact of the internet. It combines the impact of the matter and illusion. Contemporary AI technologies transfigure the existing space, constructing structural hybrids where the virtual opening of physical spaces merged or replaced by virtual one. It could be divided, partitioned, dismembered, sequenced, and read not only in the form of physical images but also by non-physical impressions. So we have that space when referred to the architectural space imposes certain mode of relations, and it becomes the medium defining the alpha. So let me wrap it up. For centuries, we had that activity of users of uniform nature, and they defined the hierarchy of events for social groups and individual users. In the epoch of a progressing development of the Metaverse, it is important to have such physical material that affects flows, connectivity. So Metaverse architecture has this certain type of experiencing that space.
użytkowników. Dziękuję.
This is an extension of the digital space and alternative. Thank you.